Alright, how's it going, everybody? Today is America's 250th birthday, and in honor of that, I thought I'd recite some of my favorite quotes from American authors, musicians, cultural figures, and presidents. But I want to make it a little game. See, I'm going to read the quote, and I want you to see if you can guess who it's attributed to. Sound good? Well, without further ado, let's get into it. Sometimes the Bible in the hand of a man is worse than a whiskey bottle in the hand of another. There are just some kind of men who are so busy worrying about the next world that they've never learned to live in this one, and you can look down the street and see the results. Harper Lee. That's part of the beauty of all literature. You discover that your longings are universal longings, that you're not lonely and isolated from anyone. You belong. F. Scott Fitzgerald. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. Kiss slowly. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably. And never regret anything that made you smile. 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones that you did. So throw off the bowlines. Sail away from the safe harbor. Catch the trade winds in your sails. Explore. Dream. Discover. Mark Twain. Men have called me mad, but the question is not yet settled whether madness is or is not the loftiest intelligence. Whether much that is glorious, whether all that is profound, does not spring from the disease of thought, from moods of minds exalted from the expense of general intellect. Edgar Allan Poe. Among other things, you'll find that you're not the first person who is ever confused and frightened and even sickened by human behavior. You're by no means alone on that score, and you'll be excited and stimulated to know. Many, many men have been just as troubled morally and spiritually as you are right now. Happily, some of them kept records of their troubles. You'll learn from them, if you want to. Just as someday, if you have something to offer, someone will learn something from you. It's a beautiful reciprocal arrangement, and it isn't education. It's history. It's poetry. J.D. Salinger. I wanted to try to build a bridge of words between me and that world outside. That world which was so distant and elusive that it seemed unreal. I would hurl words into the darkness and wait for an echo. And if an echo sounded, no matter how faintly, I would send other words to tell, to march, to fight, to create a sense of hunger for the life that gnaws in us all, to keep alive in our hearts a sense of the inexpressibly human. Richard Wright. And this, I believe, that the free, exploring mind of the individual human is the most valuable thing in the world. And this I would fight for, the freedom of the mind to take any direction it wishes, undirected. And this I must fight against, any idea, religion, or government which limits or destroys the individual. This is what I am, and this is what I'm about. John Steinbeck. If you want to write, if you want to create, you must be the most sublime fool that God ever turned out and sent rambling. You must write every single day of your life. You must read dreadful dumb books and glorious books, and let them wrestle in beautiful fights inside your head, vulgar one moment and brilliant the next. You must lurk in libraries and climb the stacks of ladders to sniff books like perfumes, and wear the books on your heads like hats. I wish you a wrestling match with your creative muse that will last a lifetime. I wish craziness and foolishness and madness upon you. May you live with hysteria and out of it make fine stories, science fiction or otherwise. Which finally means, may you be in love every day for the next 20,000 days, and out of that love, remake a world. Ray Bradbury. The thing to do, it seems to me, is to prepare yourself so you can be a rainbow in someone else's cloud. Someone who may not look like you, may not call God the same name that you call God, if they call to God at all. I may not dance your dances or speak your language, but be a blessing to somebody. That's what I think. Maya Angelou. If people bring too much courage into this world, the world has to kill them, to break them, so of course it kills them. The world breaks everyone, and afterward many are strong at the broken places. But those that will not break, it kills. It kills the very good, and the very gentle, and the very brave, impartially. If you are none of these, then you can be sure that it will kill you too, but there will be no special hurry. Ernest Hemingway. No person is your friend who demands your silence, or denies your right to grow and be perceived as fully blossomed as you were intended, or who belittles in any fashion the gifts you labor to bring into the world. Alice Walker. And on the subject of burning books, I want to congratulate librarians, not famous for their physical strength or their political power, connections, or their great wealth, who, all over this country, have staunchly resisted anti-democratic bullies who have tried to remove certain books from their shelves, and they've refused to reveal to the thought police the names of persons who have checked out those titles. So, the America that I loved still exists, if not in the White House, or the Supreme Court, or the Senate, or the House of Representatives, or the media. The America that I love still exists at the front desk of our public libraries. Kurt Vonnegut. The true measure of a man is not in his intelligence or how high he rises in this freak establishment. No, the true measure of how a man is, how quickly he can respond to the needs of others, and how much he can give. Philip K. Dick. No thief, however skillful, can rob one of knowledge, and that is why knowledge is the best and safest treasure to acquire. L. Frank Baum. God, but life is loneliness. Despite all the opiates, despite the shrill tinsel gaieties of parties with no purpose, despite the false grinning faces that we all wear, and when at last you can find someone to whom you feel you can pour out your soul, you stop in shock at the words that you utter. They're so rusty, so ugly, so meaningless and feeble from being kept in the small, cramped dark inside you for so long. Yes, there is joy, fulfillment, and companionship, but the loneliness of the soul and its appalling self-consciousness is horrible and overpowering. Sylvia Plath. Never be afraid to raise your voice for honesty and truth and compassion against injustice and lying and greed. If people all over the world would do this, it would change the earth. William Faulkner. You can always tell employees of the government by the total vacancy which occupies the space where most other people have faces. John Kennedy Toole. Let's raise our children together. Let them ride the same school buses, learn the same history, swing in the same playgrounds, pedal their bikes down the same streets, and share their same cities. Then we shall see face to face. Richard Blanco. You're not to be so blind with patriotism that you can't face reality. Wrong is wrong, no matter who does it or says it. Malcolm X. Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world that they've been given rather than explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact. It's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration. It's a dare. Impossible is potential. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is nothing. Muhammad Ali. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are. It'll beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits. Sylvester Stallone. Whenever we're driven to reach out and create something from nothing, whether it's something physical like a chair, or more temporal and ethereal like a poem, we're contributing something of ourselves to the world. We're taking our experiences and filtering it through our words, our hands, our voices, our bodies, and we're putting something in the culture that didn't exist before. In fact, we're not putting what we make into the local culture. What we make is the culture. Putting something in the world that didn't exist before is the broadest definition of making, which means all of us can be makers, creators. Adam Savage. Maybe that's enlightenment enough, to know that there is no final resting place of the mind, no moment of smug clarity. Perhaps wisdom is realizing how small I am, and unwise, and how far I have yet to go. Anthony Bourdain. Think, believe, dream, and dare. Walt Disney. I don't like ass kissers, flag wavers, or team players. I like people who buck the system. Individualists. I often warn people, somewhere along the way someone's going to tell you, there is no I in team. Well, what you should tell them is, maybe not, but there is an I in independence, individuality, and integrity. Avoid teams at all cost. Keep your circle small. Never join a group that has a name. If they say, we're the so-and-sos, take a walk. If you must join, if it's unavoidable, such as a union or a trade association, go ahead and join. But don't participate. It'll be your death. And if they tell you you're not a team player, congratulate them on being observant. George Carlin. Please, don't worry so much, because in the end, none of us has very long on this earth. Life is fleeting, and if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky when the stars are strung across the velvety night. And when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day, make a wish and think of me. Make your life spectacular. Robin Williams. I have a foreboding of an America in my children's or grandchildren's time, when the United States is a service and information economy, when nearly all manufacturing industries have slipped away to other countries, when awesome technological powers are in the hands of a very few, and no one representing the public interest can even grasp the issues, when the people have lost the ability to set their own agendas or knowledgeably question those in authority, when clutching our crystals and nervously consulting our horoscopes, our critical faculties in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what's true, we slide, almost without noticing, back into superstition and darkness. Carl Sagan. When I say it's you I like, I'm talking about that part of you that knows that life is far more than anything you could ever see or hear or touch. That deep part of you that allows you to stand for those things without which humankind cannot survive. Love that conquers hate, peace that rises triumphant over war, and justice that proves more powerful than greed. Fred Rogers. Repugnant is a creature who would squander the ability to lift an eye to heaven conscious of his fleeting time here. Maynard James Keenan. Our consciousness is programmed. We see things in a certain way from a young age. We're programmed to keep doing them that way. Then, you have to spend adulthood learning how to overcome it, to read out the programs. Try to create. I want to tell people to create. Just start by creating your day. Then, create your life. Prince Rogers Nelson. In a world filled with hate, we must still dare to hope. In a world filled with anger, we must still dare to comfort. In a world filled with despair, we must still dare to dream. And in a world filled with distrust, we must still dare to believe. Michael Jackson. If I ever reach heaven, I expect to find 3 wonders there. First, to meet some that I had thought I wouldn't see there. Second, to miss some that I had expected to see there. And third, the greatest wonder of all, to find myself there. William Martin Joel. The future is meant for those who are willing to let go of the worst parts of the past. When you cannot take 2 steps without turning around to inspect your footsteps, you're getting nowhere fast. Corey Taylor. I have only a short time to live, only one death to die, and I will die fighting for this cause. There will be no peace in this land until slavery is done for. John Brown. We've become not a melting pot, but a beautiful mosaic. Different people, different beliefs, different yearnings, different hopes, and different dreams. And yet, the best way to enhance freedom in other lands is to demonstrate here that our democratic system is worthy of emulation. James Earl Carter, Jr. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in a final sense, a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, and those who are cold and not clothed. Dwight David Eisenhower. Nothing in the world is worth having or worth doing unless it means effort, pain, and difficulty. I have never in my life envied a human being who led an easy life. I have envied a great many people who led difficult lives and led them well. Theodore Roosevelt. Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people. And neither do we. George Walker Bush. If there's a child on the south side of Chicago who can't read, that matters to me, even if it's not my child. If there's a senior citizen somewhere who can't pay for their prescription, who has to choose between medicine and the rent, that makes my life poorer, even if they're not my grandparent. If there's an Arab American or a Mexican American family being rounded up by John Ashcroft without benefit of an attorney or due process, I know that that threatens my civil liberties. And I do not have to be a woman to be concerned that the Supreme Court is trying to take away a woman's right, because I know that my rights are next. It is that fundamental belief, I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper, that makes this country work. Barack Hussein Obama. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. So tell me, what are some of your favorite quotes? It doesn't have to be from a certain nationality or creed, just something that called out to you on a deeply fundamental level. And how many of these quotes did you recognize, or guess its originator correctly? Or, if you have any ideas for videos that you want to see in the future, drop Drop them down below. We may just talk about it. And have a happy 4th of July, everybody. Peace.